Me. What did they say in the old days? Check. 1, 2, 3. Check. 1, 2, 3. When you were at the when you were at when you were at the when you were at the club watching the band, check. 1, 2, 3. The sound man, right? Hey, this is Scott on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. I did shave. Yesterday. So we're a little fully shaven now. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to make this one a fairly quick podcast. We talk about a lot of things. Jaguars. It's very early in training camp. There's only been 2, 3, 4 practices already, and there's already clamoring about Trevor's not playing well in training camp. The offense is not playing well. Well, I think the defense maybe is ahead of the offense a little bit. However, shows you what some organizing on defense can do, because I think the defense coordinator, Ryan Nielsen, man, I think he's a real deal. There's stuff going on Twitter. I will tell you, most of the media, and I've been a part of the media for years, and as my executive producer knows, our executive producer JC, and most of the media, not all the media, but most of the media, maybe not the national guys, but most of the media, you can trust them, but not all of them. Not all of them even understand football. It's taken me a long time to understand the game. The folks in the UK that, especially the ones watching it for a handful of years or more, I'm not sure they completely understand it, but they're, a lot of them listen to our podcast. I'm not sure they understand, offensive line play, the intricacies of the game, baseball. When I was a young kid, 6, 7, 8 years old, I knew nothing about how the pitch count affected the hitter, the pitcher, etc. You learn that kind of later, watching the game. Some stuff on Twitter. You can follow us at Twitter, and I did, certainly. Where are we at on Twitter? You go to Twitter, which actually I should say, Twitter is now known as the X, right? Scott Mullis at Big J Report Scott. This is where you can find me on Twitter, Scott Mullis at Big J Report Scott. Followers are increasing. We got a few hundred followers. Check us out on Twitter, now known as the X, Elon Musk's company, right? So I'm on Twitter, and I find a lot of interesting stuff on Twitter, because what happens, Bill Hellmuth, by the way, is my favorite poker player. There's a post, I reposted some stuff Bill Hellmuth did. He's a mover and shaker hanging out with the high rollers in Vegas apparently this weekend or this week. We're going to talk college football, the Jaguars. I think we could do basically this podcast episode show number 46B. Still saluting Matisic, the long snapper of the Jaguars, who wears number 46, and I don't know if there's ever been a Jaguars long snapper in the Pro Bowl, but he made it to the Pro Bowl. It was last year, right? He made it to the Pro Bowl as a long snapper. Imagine that. So one thing, when I ran I've done sports talk years and years ago in Jacksonville, and I ran a radio station up in Western Georgia, worked in terrestrial radio for 20, 25 years or longer. And our station at one point, and for a good while, was actually involved with a network called the Sporting News Radio Network, which I don't even believe exists anymore. It's probably called something else, or it merged with Fox Sports, or I don't know the whole details of Sporting News Radio, what happened there. Natalie Merchant. I see she's a great singer. I see her on my X feed, Twitter feed, now known as the X. Okay. So we got a lot of stuff on the X. I can slide up on the X and kind of take a look at what's going on up there, and we'll do that right now. What I was going to say is I first ran into Rick Ballou, and I've actually messaged with him on Facebook. We kind of know each other some, and he was with Sporting News Radio back when I ran the radio station in Western Georgia. We were one of the affiliates. So I will trust, and I've listened to his talk show. I will trust Rick Ballou over most all of the other ones in the local media. And nothing against the other ones, but Rick Ballou, man, he kind of pitches from the pocket. He kind of, I think he kind of calls himself the truth teller or the truth or something like that. But so I see a little tweet, or I guess on the X they call it a post. Rick Ballou stated, sadly, the offense has been terrible today. Man, let me back let me back up on that. That's quite a statement. And that would have been Saturday, July the 27th. You got to remember practice. And I'm thinking about Allen Iverson. Practice? Talking about practice? Well, in this case, we're talking about training camp, NFL training camp, just underway this past week. July the 24th, was that the first day? I think it was at the Miller Electric field, or what they're calling it, the Miller Electric something. But the Miller Electric field is where the training camp goes on for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I found I do follow Rick Ballou on the X. I like to see some of his comments sometimes. He used to be the sideline reporter for the Jaguars. And I think they have another sideline reporter now. They kind of rotate who the sideline reporter is over the years. But he's seen a lot of football. Rick Ballou, who at one time worked for the Sporting News Radio Network and now works, in local radio predominantly in North Florida. Rick Ballou stated, sadly, I want to repeat this. Sadly, the offense has been terrible today against this Ryan Nielsen defense. The new defensive coordinator for the Jaguars, Ryan Nielsen. Well, obviously, Rick was at practice, and when he saw this going on, I did come back with a comment, and I'm talking about defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen. Shows what a little organization can do, organizing the defense. The Jags will be better on defense easily this season. That's what I'm saying. That will help our offense out. Let's face it, our offense doesn't have to face the Jags defense. The Jaguars under DC Ryan Nielsen now featuring an attacking style of defense, which in my opinion was needed, along with the pad level fundamentals that a DC like defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen brings to the table as a Jaguars' new defensive coordinator. The talent is there on defense. But I made one final comment in my tweet or post on the X, if you will. Trevor and the O-line honestly have to step up. They do. Trevor's got Mac Jones, and I've heard Mac Jones hasn't looked the greatest in practice already. The offense has kind of sputtered. There were people that wanted heads on platters. Mike Codwell, maybe he was a sacrificial lamb, the old defensive coordinator, but I'm going to tell you, the Jaguars' opponents here in episode show number 46B, the Jaguars' opponents, man, they ran the ball up and down the field on the Jaguars. Sustained drive after sustained drive. during the 4-game losing streak, and also in the finale that the Jaguars had to desperately win that game against the Titans to make the playoffs, and they did not. So you had to fire somebody. Defensive coordinator Mike Codwell, that was the guy that most needed to be fired. Marcus from our Big J Report Facebook group said he did say that the offensive coordinator needed to go too. What's his name? Press Taylor. So I think with Press Taylor, the offensive coordinator, I think it came down to play selection was kind of dicey on Press Taylor's part. I think that means Coach Doug Peterson will most likely maybe not call all the plays. I'm sure there's going to be some easy 1st and 10s that or 2nd and 5s or 2nd and 6s or 3rd and 4s. Maybe Press Taylor will get a chance to, call the majority of the plays. Let me make sure I'm going to backtrack on a couple of things here. Man, we got some good stuff in the Facebook group, but we'll tell you that. I've invited some more people to come in. Somebody asked me a long time ago who my favorite baseball player was, or well, maybe not my favorite baseball player, but who I thought was the best or greatest baseball player of all time. I said Hank Aaron, 755 home runs. I saw a stat on Hank Aaron's career this morning that you got to really think about. Hank Aaron holds the major league record for the most home runs hit in a career without ever striking out more than 100 times in a season. How many times do these guys strike out now? Much more than 100, right? Hank Aaron, and it's debatable. He'd be my pick for the greatest player of all time. There's some other guys. Mickey Mantle, of course, is some people's pick. Who else can we talk about in baseball? There's a lot of them. Got Ohtani that smashes a lot of home runs, and he pitches too. But I don't believe he's the greatest player of all time. Maybe in the future he will become the greatest player of all time. But I'm pretty much with Hank Aaron. A lot of other great players, the late Willie Mays, who just passed away recently. You got to give Joe DiMaggio credit for the long 56-game hitting streak. Pete Rose got close to the hitting streak with 44, a 44-game hitting streak back in the late 70s. That's my little talk about baseball. By the way, the Jumbo Shrimp came down to earth, lost a game Saturday. They did. They lost a game Saturday. Let's take a look. And by the way, that offensive coordinator, he had a press conference. He sounds like a real intelligent on football, but man, the play selection has got to improve for the Jaguars in 2024. No doubt. There's a press conference in our Big J Report Facebook group from July the 26th, just a couple of days ago. The offensive line, Trevor has got to secure the football. And again, I heard that in the press conference. I don't even know if Trevor's name was mentioned next to securing the football, but that's the main guy to secure the football, the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. And the O-line, has got to play better. Really, a lot of stuff in our Facebook group, by the way. SEC football, we're going to cover it. SEC football looks like Georgia, Bama, Texas, and Ole Miss are projected the top 4, but who in the middle can slide up in 2024? We did a BigJReport.com SEC Power Rankings in our last episode on the Teal Shirt Report podcast, and we've got it up on our YouTube channel as well. Well, the pundits like Georgia. I don't think I've seen any prediction of anyone other than Georgia winning the SEC. I've got Bama. I did slide Bama up to 2, Texas 3, Ole Miss 4. I got Tennessee 5. Who are the middle teams if you got Georgia, Bama, Texas, and Ole Miss as the top four, the middle teams are going to be Tennessee, LSU. I'm going to put Florida in there somewhere. Billy Napier's got to win some games, but he's got a really, really tough schedule. Who are the middle teams? Kentucky's, I don't know. With Mark Stoops, Kentucky's kind of a middle to lower team, but he surprises a lot of people. Good Kentucky. Kentucky's always got a pretty solid team, and it's tough to beat them at Kentucky, as the Florida coaches have found out, both Coach Mullen and Coach Billy Napier at Florida. AAA baseball, the Jumbo Shrimp had been really, really hot, but they came down to earth on Saturday a little bit. At Norfolk, the Norfolk Tides 5, the Jumbo Shrimp 4. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp now 49-51. They were 49-51 now. They had been getting some really, really good pitching, but the guy that pitched on Saturday, G. Serrano, he's 0-3 with a 4.66 ERA, so not the best pitching performance. And the Jumbo Shrimp, it's amazing. They were 16-11 way back, like in late April, early May, 16-11, man. They went on these massive losing streaks. I think Scranton beat them 6 straight games, and they lost. The teams they don't play very often that are really, really tough, when they ran into those teams like the Scrantons, and a couple other teams, they really fell apart. Now they beat up on some teams, and they're playing better, getting better pitching. And I'm amazed the Jumbo Shrimp have battled back. They're just 2 games under 500 here on July the 28th. Who are the middle teams in SEC football? Well, we told you the top 4, we believe: Georgia, Bama, Texas, and Ole Miss. Right now, Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. Coach Lane Kiffin may have one of his most talented teams. Texas has 2 really, really good quarterbacks. One that hasn't played, really, to speak of, the Manning kid, Arch Manning. Georgia's got 5 stars all over the roster, 4 and 5 stars protecting their quarterback, Carson Beck, who's originally from Jacksonville. And really, this will be only his second year playing as a starter at Georgia. Bama, they've lost a few guys to the portal. I still got them. I moved them back up to number 2. They got, a new coach. Nick Saban's retired. It's going to be interesting to watch Bama. Bama could go anywhere from undefeated to 8-4. It's possible. The teams in the middle, your LSU's, Tennessee's, maybe even Florida slipping in there with the toughest schedule in the nation this year. Some other middle teams, Missouri. Missouri had a great year last year. I'm not sure they duplicate as good a record as they had last year. That's why I picked them a little bit lower. I've never been, and this guy Drinkwitz, that's a coach, has proved me wrong. He did last year. But who are the middle teams? Texas A&M's another team that we have a little high, but I've got Texas A&M up there pretty good. But Auburn, I had Auburn ranked behind Texas A&M in the SEC power rankings, but Auburn, I could see Auburn could supplant Texas A&M. Hugh Freeze, now in his second year at Auburn, I look for Auburn to be an improved team. I think Hugh Freeze did more with that team last year than I thought he would. I think Auburn will probably win at least 1 or 2 more games this year than they did last year. And Coach Billy Napier, if he doesn't win at least 7 games, he's going to be on a real proverbial hot seat. The quarterback room looks good with Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway at Florida. Florida's not got the best quarterbacks in the league, but you take a look at the 2 guys, and Florida's got to be in the top 6, top 8 teams in the league as far as the quarterback room goes. Florida's defense has to improve. They got a couple of pretty good tackles, offensive tackles out of the portal. But the thing with Florida, and you Gator fans, and I'm a Gator fan, I followed the Gators. I've absolutely followed the Gators since 1970 when Doug Dickey was the head coach. You had the Super Softs had become juniors: John Reeves, Carlos Alvarez, and Tommy Durrance. Did anybody know Tommy Durrance played for the Jacksonville Sharks back in 1974 in the old World Football League. I saw an old film of the Jacksonville Sharks outdoor team, the original Jacksonville Sharks from the World Football League. Carlos Alvarez had a cup of coffee with the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL, but he had almost really blown both knees out. Even when he got drafted, I think he had two bad knees. Went late in the draft to the Dallas Cowboys. And John Reeves had the best pro career of all of them. Played with Cincinnati and played with Cincinnati, played with Philadelphia. I'd forgotten he went to the Vikings at the end of his career. I don't think he really played much with Minnesota. Then he played for Coach Spurrier. In the USFL with the Tampa Bay Bandits. So, those were my early heroes of the Florida Gators. John Reeves, especially number 7. Also Tommy Durrance, number 33, and Carlos Alvarez, number 45. Carlos is the only one still living among the three. Carlos, after his NFL days with Dallas, ended up being a lawyer in Tallahassee. Can you imagine a Gator living in Tallahassee? But he does. And he and I have messaged on FB, Facebook. So the Gators, I think they got to win close games. I know I got Florida Gator fans listening to our podcast. Florida's got to win close games. The first 7 games are doable, even though Tennessee's won of the first 7 games. I got Tennessee 5th in my power rankings, but that might be a little high. I want to thank the coffee boy, my executive producer, for making that outstanding coffee for me this morning. What do we got? We got we went back to the Maxwell House dark roast, and I bought a lot of it when it was on sale. We still got some of that left, and I mixed in a little bit of the Dunkin' French vanilla flavored, just a little bit. It was more dark Maxwell House that I got right here in Jacksonville. So if we want to go back and kind of re-emphasize real quickly about what Rick Ballou said about the offense, he basically was knocking good events. And I'm getting some updates now on they're not known as Twitter anymore. It's the X.com. Is that how you get to them now? You still hit Twitter and you can get to them, though. Okay, so SEC football looks like Georgia, Bama, Texas, and Ole Miss are projected to be the top 4 in the conference, but who in the middle can slide up in 2024? Any thoughts or picks? Please put them in our comments here on our podcast on the YouTube channel. This morning got warm in Jacksonville. Partly cloudy and a warm 77 degrees in Jacksonville, Florida. This morning on Sunday morning, July the 28th of 2024. High now, not quite as hot. The heat index has kind of gone by the boards. It's the first day today, July 28th, is the first day I haven't seen anything about the heat index making the temperatures feel hotter than they actually do. High temperature near 90 now. Lows at night near 75. Not quite as hot now. Rain chance 60% Sunday, 20% on Monday. Got that info from BigJReport.com. And a lot of rain. The Lord has given us rain every day the last 9 days. About 4.7 inches of rain or so over the last 9 days. And that's going back to not this past Friday, but the Friday before. So about 9 days of rain, here in late July. And when we go back to, again, real quickly, what Rick Ballou said, sadly, the offense has been terrible today against this Ryan Nielsen defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, they're playing against each other, scrimmaging. They're not going to hit Trevor. Better not hit Trevor, right? I'm sure he's got one of those red jerseys on. but apparently Trevor's not looked good early. He signed the huge contract, right? Which kind of kicks in after his rookie deal. Trevor Lawrence is going to be in Jacksonville a long time. He's going to be in Jacksonville probably at least another 7 years. Back up right now, Mac Jones. I've even heard Mac didn't look good in his opportunities. I heard that a couple of days ago. You hear a lot of things. We'll see what happens when the preseason games come around and then when the regular season kicks in September. I think the Jaguars got a pretty good defensive coordinator now in Ryan Nielsen. And hopefully Ryan Nielsen and him being the defensive coordinator in scrimmaging and practice will actually help make the Jaguars offense better. A key thing, how good will the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line be? And will Trevor Lawrence, and I believe he will, I believe he'll protect the football better once the live bullets start flying in the regular season. I'm going to wind it up here on the TEAL Shirt Report podcast. I did shave. And I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening in with us. You guys have a great day. This has been the TEAL Shirt Report podcast. Subscribe to our channel, please. Subscribe to our channel. Hit the comment button. Make some comments if you like. Subscribe to our channel. Hope you liked the YouTube video. Hope you got something out of it. Let me know in the comments. And again, please subscribe to our channel. My name is Scott, your host of the TEAL Shirt Report podcast. And I want to thank our producers, our executive producer, JC, Alex Nunnery, one of our producers, and obviously our contributor and correspondent, Alex Nunnery. Also want to thank our sponsors, Salsa Realty and Capital, for your real estate needs in North Florida, the madmaxmix.weebly.com. Max is a great Wednesday night internet radio, Wednesday night music request show. You can play your request, madmaxmix.weebly.com. And JC's show, live in the pub with JC on Thursday nights at LakeUpallahits.com. LakeUpallahits.com, great internet radio where it's all good. Go to our website, bigjreport.com. And you can find all the links for Salsa Realty and Capital. LakeUpallahits.com, great internet radio where it's all good. Search the website, you'll find the links for Lake Upalla Hits. The madmaxmix.weebly.com, great shows on the internet. We were on terrestrial radio for 25 years, and now we got our podcast, the TEAL Shirt Report podcast. We appreciate you guys listening in. That's going to wind it up. I am your host, Scott, of the TEAL Shirt Report podcast, and follow us at bigjreport.com, also on Twitter, or the X now, as well. X. The X is really popping. We got getting a lot of new followers. You can follow up Scott Mullis at Big J Report Scott. Thank you guys for listening in to the podcast. This has been episode show number 46B. We want to salute the long snapper of the Jaguars, Mr. Matisick. You guys have a great day. And hey, thank you for listening in.